Manipulating an operating handle that is placed on the left side of the firearm can be a challenge if you are right-hand dominant, as I am. Obviously, one should operate their firearm under safe conditions to completely familiarize themselves with how to safely operate the firearm. For me, since I am a right-hand dominant left-side shooter of long guns, magazine changes are performed by rotating the top of the Hi-Point 4595 TS slightly outward from my body while holding the grip and pressing the firearm into my side. The trigger finger presses the magazine release button, while the strong hand strips the spent magazine out and feeds the fresh magazine into the magazine well. I have also found that it is easier for me to rotate the top of the firearm toward me until the operating handle is facing up slightly. Then come over the top with my working hand. In my case, this is my strong hand, pulling the charging handle slightly to the rear until I hear a click, the hold open lever being pulled down by the spring tension, and then quickly releasing the operating handle so that I don't ride the slide to release the bolt. The operating handle is not that easy to release, regardless of the hand used. It is all a matter of knowing what the left hand and right hands need to do. I have read where some think that the Hi-Point 4595 TS is heavy. The Hi-Point 4595 TS weighs 7 pounds unloaded. The Auto Ordnance 1927 Thompson weighs 13 pounds unloaded. Consider, also, that the Beretta CX4 Storm weighs about 5.675 pounds unloaded. The Ruger AR-556, which fires a more powerful round, weighs in at a mere 6.85 pounds dry. You might consider the Century Arms RAS-47, 100% American-made AK variant, heavy at 7.55 pounds, unloaded. For giggles, throw in the Henry Big Boy, lever-action rifle in .45 Colt that weighs in at 8.68 pounds dry. I will only say this. I adapted to the Hi-Point 4595 TS more quickly than I did with the Auto Ordnance 1927 Thompson. The Hi-Point 4595 TS actually has a pretty nice feel to it once you get used to it. The cheek rest has a rise to it at the front, and if my cheek is resting on the rise at the cheekbones, the sights are just at the right height for a very clear sight picture. I would advise that you get as much of your cheek on the cheek riser as possible. However, since this 4595 TS is equipped with a 1:4 scope, a more tactical sighting position falls into place. Recoil is negligible, and the spring-loaded butt plate is actually doing something to contribute to the buffering the small amount of felt recoil. I decided, for practical purposes, to go for a 50-yard zero. Since my local indoor range maximum distance is 25 yards, that meant that if I could place a bullet at approximately 0.65 inches above the X at 25 yards, I should be as close to zero at 50 yards as I could be. This also meant that at 15 yards, I would be as close to zero as I could get. So, a 50-yard zero was well within the realm of my reality with the Hi-Point 4595 TS. Bench resting a full magazine of 230 grain FMJ to verify zero, and shooting the remainder of the rounds I had available to me offhand, showed me that the Hi-Point 4595 TS would be an excellent firearm for home defense or short-range needs. The Hi-Point 4595 TS ran without a hitch. The trigger resistance, while heavy, was quickly overcome. The operating handle is a bit tricky to work with, but more trigger time will solve any issues with that. Recoil is extremely light, and the Hi-Point 4595 tucks nicely into the shoulder. The operating handle did manage to loosen at the range. I discovered this after I got the firearm home and was checking things before cleaning. But I cleaned the threads of the operating handle, put a little dab of blue thread locker on the threads, and lightly tightened it down. The blue thread locker should help to keep the operating handle from loosening. Only further shooting will tell the story. All in all, the Hi-Point 4595 TS made for a great day at the range.